All right, good morning, everyone. Let's just wait just a couple of seconds for folks to join. And good morning, everyone. We'll wait just a few more seconds as we wait for everyone to join in today. Hope that all of you are having a wonderful day so far, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening for you. All right. And with that, let's go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to our Coffee with Massimo webinar today. My name is Sejal. I'll be your host for today's session. And with that, for today's topic, we're going to be diving into how enterprise automation can enable application modernization. All right. So before we kind of go into the actual content, I wanted to share a couple of housekeeping items. So firstly, we are going to be having a Q&A session at the end, and we'll be using a platform called Pigeonhole for that. So if you haven't used Pigeonhole before, you can either go ahead and scan this QR code using your mobile phone, or you can go ahead and follow this link, which I'll drop in the comments right now. And I'll go ahead and drop that in just a couple of seconds, but go ahead and follow that link and you'll be able to put in any questions that you have. Additionally, you'll also get the opportunity to upvote. So if there's a question in there that you really like and you want to make sure that we prioritize that, go ahead and make sure that you upvote that question, and we'll be sure that we can get to those at the end. All right, so without further ado, I am very excited to announce our speakers for today. So first up, we have Karuna Mukherjee. She runs our VP Enterprise Marketing here at Workato. And we've also got Massimo Pizzini. So with that, I'm very excited to hand it off to both you, Karuna and Massimo.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sejal, and welcome everyone. But as you guys must have seen in our LinkedIn post, we are changing and rebranding our session today to Iced Tea with Massimo. It's rather hot in Italy, so he made a simple request. So, but again, the good thing is Iced Tea is for everyone at all times of day. A little bit about myself. I've been with Workato about 10 months. I run enterprise marketing here, come from a background in product marketing and product management, and spent close to 2 decades between SAP and Oracle. Massimo?
Yes, thank you very much. This is my iced tea, as you can see here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Massimo. As Sejal said, I'm head of research for Workato. Unfortunately, I spent a bit more than Karuna in the industry, 45 years. And before joining Workato in November of last year, I spent 25 years at Gartner, where I was an analyst covering integration and automation technology, etc. I joined Workato at the end of November 21 as an advisor, and my role is really to look forward. In other words, I'm trying to figure out what is the future of the enterprise, meaning what are the emerging needs and requirements coming from you, the enterprise customers and organizations, understand what is the role of integration and automation in terms of supporting those emerging needs and requirements, and figuring out where the market is going in terms of market evolution.
Thank you, Massimo. And once again, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes bringing everybody up to speed about Workato in case you're not familiar. We are an integration automation platform. We are a market leader across several analyst firms in this space. We have a lot of customers, and customers not just who are digitally native, so like the new cloud SaaS companies, but also what we classify as digital ambitious, and these companies are across the globe. They are across industries. As you can see, we have, from financial services to hospitality to consumer to SaaS companies, you name it, and we have them. And they are all essentially using our capabilities to help their businesses run better, to be more cutting edge as far as digital transformation is concerned. We have a lot of pre-built content that really enables speed and productivity for our customers, over 1,200 connectors that are available. We have a very large and robust community. They have built over 500,000 automations within the community using our accelerators. And we have over 250,000 community members, leaders that participate and join with us. Workado is headquartered out of Silicon Valley and has a lot of industry veterans coming from companies like Oracle, TIBCO, Splunk that are at the helm of innovation for us. Massimo, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Karuna. Yeah, the plan is to spend the next 15 minutes or so discussing with you how we see enterprise automation technology playing a very important role in enabling application modernization. And hopefully we're going to have some time toward the end of the session to really answer to your questions. So feel free to post as many questions as you want in Pigeonhole using the mechanism that Sejal was describing. So next slide, please. Application modernization is a very broad topic, but and there are different opinions of what it is and what it is not, etc. But for the sake of this discussion, we distinguish three forms of application modernization. The first one is the most basic, that basically everybody in the world is applying, which is enabling API in front of our backend system of record applications. This is what organizations have been doing over the past 10 years, basically, in order to enable applications such as customer experience, digital workplace, B2B and B2C, e-commerce, etc., etc. So sticking a bunch of APIs in front of your legacy system, your system of record applications, and using those APIs to support these needs and requirements. The second one is a little bit more ambitious, which is, not only are we building APIs, but we are starting to modernize actually the system of record themselves. Maybe replacing some of our old legacy system of record application with modern SaaS applications, maybe migrating some of our legacy application to the cloud, maybe starting to break the big monolithic system into more elementary chunks, and modernizing anti-operation and modernizing the way in which we manage and automate our IT business processes. The ultimate application modernization approach is something new, which came to the fore maybe a couple of years ago, which we call the composable enterprise. And here the strategy is to radically modernize the system of record application by breaking them into much smaller components in order to support the democratization of IT and in order to enable a new way of developing application, which is based on the notion of fusion teams. We don't have the time today to explore fusion teams that much, but think about fusion teams as a combination of IT and business people working together in order to develop new applications by not by designing those applications from scratch, but by reusing these decomposed building blocks and orchestrate and combine them together using low-code type of tool to create the new applications. So let's start exploring the most basic form of application modernization, which is backend API enablement. Here we go. So this is an architecture that I suppose is very, very familiar to most of you, right? And sincerely, this architecture dates back probably 25 years ago when we started talking about service-oriented architecture. Now, service-oriented architecture is a bad word in many cases, but the core principles that are guiding us when it comes to API and API enabling system of record applications, the architectural principles are very much the same. So what is the idea here? We want to build a whole bunch of digital applications, mobile, web, chatbots. We want to connect with our business partners and with our ecosystem. So we build a whole bunch of APIs. And those APIs, through an integration layer, connect back into the system of record application, our ERP system, CRM system, core banking system, claim management systems, etc., etc., etc. And the idea, therefore, is that those APIs provide a mechanism by which the digital application can connect back into the system of record, take advantage of the data and the business logic implemented by those system of records, right? So nothing changes fundamentally at the system of record level. It is what it is. We don't change our core business application. We don't replace our ERP system. We don't replace our core banking system, but we build this API layer so we can add additional value on top of them in terms of digital applications. And clearly, the enterprise automation technology plays a very important role here. Number one, we use the API gateway set of capabilities provided by enterprise automation platforms to actually publish and monitor and manage and protect, if you want, the APIs exposed to this digital application on one end. And on the other end, we use the data and application integration functionality of the platform to really create what I call composite services. So in other words, processes which receive an API call as an input and respond by connecting into the various business applications at the back end, collecting the data which are needed in order to respond to your API call and send those data back. For example, very classic example, if I want to implement the very famous or infamous Get Me Customer Data API, probably I need to collect data about my customer from 3 or 4 different systems, my ERP system, my CRM system, my billing system, etc., etc. So this is what this composite services layer does, connecting to all the system and collect the data which is needed. And this is typically done using the orchestration, connectivity, adapters, transformation, routing capabilities of an enterprise automation platform. As I was saying earlier, this is very popular. I will say that pretty much every organization in the world I speak with, they have implemented some form of this architecture. However, there is a next step, if you want, which we can consider, because this architecture has some limitations in terms of scalability, for example, in terms of performance, in terms of availability. For example, if the system of record is not available, the digital application cannot work, simply because the API they call cannot respond because the primary source of data, the system of record application, is not available. And moreover, very often system of record applications are not designed to support the high workload generated by the digital applications. Sometimes when organizations, they open up their system of record applications to digital application through an API layer, they notice maybe a 4, 5, 10-fold increase in the workload that those system of record applications they have to support, and not all the system of record applications are designed to support such a workload. So the architecture shown in the next slide, it is something that is emerging. But before going there, we wanted to ask you. Everybody's doing APIs, but we are very curious in terms of understanding how you're using APIs. So in other words, what are the use cases for APIs? And you see enabling mobile application, enabling digital commerce, enabling productivity and efficiency across the workforce, enabling your ecosystem or others. So Sejal, would you mind chiming in and give the instruction on how to respond to this poll?
We've gone ahead and posted the link in the chat box right now. So go ahead and follow that link. And let's get in some responses here.
While we may wait for the responses to come in, maybe we can move to the next chart. I was saying earlier that the classic architecture I was describing earlier has some limitations in terms of scalability, performance, availability, and so on. So an architecture which I have seen emerging probably 6 or 7 years, it is something which I call the digital integration hub. So at first glance, this architecture is very similar to the previous one, but there is one big difference. And the difference is this data management layer sitting in between the API and digital front end and the system of record back end. So the idea is that the API layer and the services sitting behind the API layer are not going to hit the system of record. to find the data they need. They are going to find the data they need in this intermediate data management layer, which means that the system of record needs to constantly update this data management layer in order to make sure that the data in the system of record and the data in this intermediate data management layer are in sync. This architecture has a number of advantages. For example, even if a system of record application is not available, the digital application can work because they are going to find the data they need in this data management layer. Of course, it is much easier to scale up and down a data management layer built on NoSQL databases or in-memory databases than it is to scale up your core banking application, for example. And moreover, we can therefore scale up and down the digital application much more easily, and we can optimize those architecture from a performance point of view. So we have seen a number of organizations adopting this strategy in order to provide a much more resilient, higher performance, more scalable API layer access to the data in the system of record. Sejal, do we have results of the poll?
Yep, we
can
do.
share?
Yep, it looks like the enabling your ecosystem is the most popular
Very
choice,
interesting.
shortly followed by enabling productivity and efficiency across your workflows.
Very interesting. I would bet it was mobile. Maybe this is 5 years ago. It was mobile. Yeah. Thank you, Sejal. So let's move to the next chart. This architecture, this digital integration hub architecture, however, is proving to be very, very powerful to enable the second phase or the second model of application modernization. In other words, okay, you create your digital layer, you build a bunch of mobile and API applications, and then web application, etc. And you build this digital integration hub decoupling layer in between. Then what you can start doing is to little by little replace your legacy system of record applications with modern application, for example, software as a service, right? But as you replace the legacy systems with new modern systems, the impact on the digital layer is close to zero. If you think about for a second, in this architecture, the front-end layer and the back-end layer, they don't need to know anything about each other. The only thing they have in common is this database. So as long as the database in between is actually synchronized with the system of record at the back-end, it is sufficient, right? So if I replace an old legacy system with an equivalent software as a service system, as long as this software as a service is capable to provide the same data which the legacy system was providing, the digital environment continues to work. So of course, you can do this once at a time. So maybe you replace one of your legacy application with a SaaS software as a service application. Maybe you rebuild some of these legacy systems in a cloud native way, or maybe you just migrate your relatively new system of record application to the cloud, right? So this digital integration hub is a very powerful concept because it has tactical and strategic benefits. The tactical benefits is providing your API layer, your digital application, greater performance, greater scalability, greater availability. The strategic benefit is that it allows you to evolve your digital environment and your system of record environment at different speeds without affecting each other. In other words, a change in the system of record doesn't impact or has minimal impact on the digital channels and vice versa. So it's a stepwise, minimally disruptive, bimodal, meaning different velocities, modernization approach. Let's go to the next slide. However, as I told you earlier, the ultimate, in my view at least, the ultimate modernization strategy is what we call composable business or composable enterprise. What is the notion of composable business? The notion of composable business is the following. Well, your system of record is not a big monolithic application, is not 3 medium-sized monolithic applications, maybe it's a couple of hundreds of relatively small application components, if you want, which are well-designed and well-defined in terms of APIs and events, which you can use in order to consume those components. And the idea is that the builders of the applications, they don't actually write code, but typically using orchestration tools or low-code tools, the application is composed by aggregating together these packaged business capabilities, these back-end components, and gluing them together using interactive graphical, low-code type of environments. And the idea is that the builders of those composable business applications are not necessarily IT people, but typically is a fusion team, which is a combination of IT and business people working together in order to deliver the new solution. Why do we want to do that? Why do we want to complicate the world in such a way? Because we want to achieve extreme agility. In other words, we want to be able to redesign our business processes, add functionality, improve the user experience of the applications with minimal effort and in a much faster time frame. And if you have this decoupling between the packaged business capability that you reuse again and again and again, and this, if you want, user experience layer that you build in an interactive way, collaborating with your business colleagues, clearly agility moves to the next level. Of course, in order to do that, we need a lot of technology, which is called the application composition platform. Interestingly enough, however, as you can see, some of the capabilities which are required in order to build this composable business application are indeed enterprise automation functionality. In other words, what I'm saying is that if you invest today in enterprise automation, you are preparing the ground to move to composable business application, even if you say, well, composable is too complicated for me right now, but you make an investment today to enable the more classic, if you want, enterprise application modernization strategies, but you prepare the ground for a composable business application. So to conclude my speech here, let's move to the next chart. And what are the key takeaways? What I want you to remember out of this discussion? Enterprise automation technology is a powerful enabler for application modernization. Typically, people don't think in that way. Typically, people think about enterprise automation as something to connect things and orchestrate processes. But as I hope I showed you, it's a powerful enabler for application modernization. The conventional API architecture that we showed at the very beginning, the SOA-derived architecture, is well known and supported by the industry, but they have limitations in terms of performance, scalability, availability, and so on. So this digital integration hub architecture is a bit more complex to implement. However, it addresses these scalability, performance, availability challenges and provide you with an architectural opportunity to radically decoupling the front end and the back end so that you can evolve the back end, you can modernize your back end gradually, while at the same time investing to improve your digital capabilities. However, as I said, strategically, my recommendation is to start looking at this composable enterprise concept, the composable business applications, because this is, in my view, the ultimate modernization strategy. So with that, I'm done, and I think we have 7 or 8 minutes for questions. So, Sejal?
Yep, definitely. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And we've got quite a couple of questions that have come in. So let's just go ahead and start with the first one. So email is still widely used for business communication, despite of more specialized systems like CRM, ticketing systems, etc. Do you have a solution to classify and automate email communication?
Karun, I don't believe we have anything like this, right?
Yeah, no, I think, I just make a couple of comments, right? So, I'm sensing that the communication here is really focused on reaching out to your customers and prospects, since CRM is mentioned here. And there are several, ways to think about it. But what Workato does offer is a lot of prepackaged connectors into a lot of these CRM systems, whether it's Salesforce, Marketo, or if you're looking at it from a sales side, which is Outreach. And truly, if you build it out as more of an end-to-end process, bringing these systems together, leveraging, some of the best practices around, enterprise automation, I think that is the direction that you should be looking at as you think about automating email communications. I think the issue is not so much about automating your email communication, but really automating the communication channel that you have with your customers and prospects.
In any case, I believe that Workato provides connectors into the
We
mail
do
chain, this kind
all
of
of
stuff.
these, exactly, right? We have pre-built connectors into Salesforce, Marketo, Outreach, you name it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Next one.
Yep. All right. For SaaS platforms where users can enable or disable integration, is there a best practice of business model? Do you build the client for his usage or let them set up their account and use their API key?
This I don't know sincerely. Karuna, do you have any sense?
No, I think this one we will have to follow up on, because it's a combination of implementation plus billing and pricing.
Perfect.
What I can tell is that Workato charges per process fundamentally, right? So whether in a process you use 25 APIs or 2 APIs, the cost is the same from a Workato perspective. However, that some software as a service application, namely Salesforce, for example, but I believe also SAP, the more APIs you trigger into those systems, the more you pay, right? Basically. So therefore, there are strategies that Workato supports to optimize the number of API calls in order to help you reduce the cost of connecting into those systems through APIs.
Yeah, we actually charge at a task level. So the tasks that make up a process, so there's a lot of flexibility customers have in terms of how they define the process, and then of course our teams work with our customers to ensure it's the best value for their investment, right? Like, how do you optimize a process so you're using less tasks? But we don't charge on API usage per se.
The software as a service guys do, but not
correct.
Workato.
They do, exactly. That is a big it's all trigger based.
All right. Another more technical. How does Workato overcome the API limits set by platforms such as Marketo or NetSuite?
And this is what we were talking about, So in other words, again, I'm not a super expert. Maybe Karuna, you can chime in, but we have in the connectors that we deploy, in front of applications such as Marketo and NetSuite, there is a possibility of grouping together, for example, multiple API calls and shoot them out in one go. So you reduce the number of API calls that you generate through Workato, and therefore you can reduce basically the bill that you pay to the Marketo NetSuite of the world.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Basically the whole API management capability on the Workato side is built such that you optimize limits like this, right? Set with other applications.
Yeah. But again, we cannot do anything if the vendor, the software server, wants you to pay for the API calls. We can help you reduce the bill, but
not take the bill away.
No.
All right. Next question. What strategies do you recommend for monetizing integration and automation innovation?
Monetizing, that's a very interesting question. Well, I would say typically the question is, how do I justify an investment in automation and integration, right? What are the business benefits, etc.? And if you go back to the very first Coffee with Massimo webinar, we were talking about this very subject. So you may want to, all the recordings are available, so you can go back to Coffee with Massimo #1, and you'll see what kind of discussion we had. But simply put, the way to monetize, the way to actually show benefit are 5 in my perspective. You can demonstrate that by using automation and integration, you reduce your costs, not integration costs, not automation costs, the cost of running a process such as order to cash, for example. The second is business agility. And by the way, in the poll that we ran at the time, business agility was the number 1. The third one is improving customer employee user experience, fundamentally by providing an integrated, maybe conversational user experience in front of your legacy systems. This is a very classic scenario for legacy modernization. The fifth one is providing greater insights from an analytics point of view, and the fifth one is innovation. In other words, by using automation and integration, you can really create new products and services for your customers very, very quickly. And therefore, maybe the monetization is astronomical if you are able to build a very compelling service for your clients.
Yeah, I think it's all about the outcome we can drive, right? End-to-end outcome. And I think that's whether it's cost of operations or identifying new business opportunities or just transformation. I mean, that is where we always like to point our customers to.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and do one more question. Let's do
maybe the second one.
Second
Composable
one.
architecture. Yeah.
Yep. Can this composable architecture be applied to any use case? For example, real-time streaming batch or bulk paradigms? Would this involve a lot of HTTP and data traffic generated?
The answer to the first part of the question is yes. In other words, in principle, you can use the composable architecture to build transactional applications, to build analytical applications, any combination of these things together, right? There is no reason why it could not be applied to one particular use case. In terms of the HTTP data traffic generated, it depends on how well you design your APIs and how well you design your events, obviously. Because at the end of the day, the key mechanism that you use in order to aggregate those components together and create the user experience is through APIs and events, right? So therefore, if you build the chatty APIs, you're going to spend a lot of money in HTTP traffic. If you design your APIs properly, that's not the case. Consider one thing, that those APIs exposed by the backend composable package business capabilities are high-level APIs. Those are APIs that need to be understood by the business person, right? Because the business person needs to sit down in front of the API catalog and say, oh, I need this and this and this function, and this is the way I orchestrate those functions in order to create my applications, right? So in general, the design principle is to create high-level APIs which provide all the data and all the functionality that are needed in one single call, fundamentally, right? So if things are designed well, I don't expect that composable will generate more traffic than a regular API architecture, sincerely.
All right. I know I said that was the last question, but there was one more question that did come in that I think we've kind of gotten asked a couple times in the chat, so I think might be a good one to just follow up on. So a couple people said that they completely agree with you that this is the only way for a large-scale organization to reach the speed of completion. However, it is complex and adoption is difficult. So what are your recommendations for how to...
Yeah, I suppose the gentleman or gentle lady who posted this question is talking about the composable thing, composable architecture.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, true. No question about that. We are in the very early stages of composable. I used to say that composable is now where digital was 6 or 7 years ago. If you go back 7 years ago, 8 years ago, people say, well, what this digital thing is all about? I don't understand it. How it's about API. No, it's about mobile, etc. Right? So when it comes to composable, we are pretty much at the same stage. And I would say, so there is a lot of learning the industry as such needs to do, right? I'm not selling you composable as something that everybody's doing, and if you're not doing, you are an idiot. That's not the case, right? We are early stages. Let's say that I saw so far a couple of different approaches. The prevailing approach is bottom-up. You identify a particular scenario, particular application for which agility is fundamental, is critical, right? And you start applying those principles in one particular project. And then you move forward to a next project. In a few cases, but very interesting, instead it was a top-down approach. In other words, the company was going through a massive transformation, or there were other type of problems, and therefore a composable architecture was kind of imposed from the top down, from the CIO or even CEO to a certain extent, right? So I wouldn't recommend you guys to go through a top-down approach unless you have a very, very, very strong business driver and business motivation. So my recommendation would be start small, experiment, play with the technology, but not in a sandbox. Play with the technology in terms of applying to a real concrete business benefit, a business requirement. You see the benefit, you learn, and then you move to the next step. That's the best way. I think this is what people did when it comes to digital, right?
Yeah.
7 years ago, nobody was saying we have to do digital. They said, well, we have to build this mobile application. And by the way, we need APIs. Oh, that's digital. Okay. So I believe this is the same approach.
It's kind of finding an area of business you want to transform and then finding use cases within that, right? So is it more about completely automating, transforming your customer experience, or is it finding those points of engagement that you can, to use Massimo's words, like play around with and see whether your business has the capacity to absorb that kind of technology and grow with it?
Okay, so Jal, I think we are already out of time.
Yep, we are. So with that, we're going to go ahead and launch a quick poll, since we are at the end of the session, and you guys help decide what our next topic is going to go ahead and be. So I've gone ahead and dropped the next poll in the comments right now. So please go ahead and choose what you would like to hear in the next session. So just to let you know again, our options are 1, organization models to support enterprise automation; 2, implementing enterprise automation via incremental approaches; and 3, bringing together enterprise automation and iPaaS. So those are our 3 options. And again, you guys go ahead and inform us what you're most interested in. It looks like we have a couple responses coming in right now.
Karuna, it says that composable is going to be one topic to propose next
It's a
time.
hot topic. It's a hot topic for sure.
Next time we are going to propose composable, and see what happens.
All right, so far we've got a 3-way tie. We'll just give it just a couple seconds for responses to come in. And while you guys are waiting on that, we keep getting 3-way ties.
Okay, we have an answer.
All right, it looks like
the winner is?
Yep, looks like the winner is implementing enterprise automation via incremental approaches.
Okay.
Awesome. Excellent.
Awesome. So that will be our next topic. So stay tuned for information on that. However, if you would like to go ahead and register for our next Coffee with Massimo already, we can go ahead and get you automatically registered so that you don't have to go in and fill in your information all over again. So let me go ahead and drop this link in the chat box. And again, you'll just be automatically registered if you hit yes on here. And you won't have to, you'll get automatically, all of the email confirmations and details that you'll be automatically registered. So go ahead, fill that in.
Meanwhile, there is somebody asking, where are the other Coffee with Massimo recordings? They are not on LinkedIn, because this is the first time we use LinkedIn as an experiment. So most likely the next one will be on LinkedIn. You can find them on the Workato
page
website.
Yeah, we have the previous sessions recorded.
Yep, and I will go ahead and find, we actually have a resources page with all of the Coffee with Massimos on it. So let me go ahead and pull that up so that we can drop that in the chat box. And with that, we are definitely, getting a little bit overtime here. So while I work on getting that link added, I wanted to give huge thank you, both Massimo and Karuna, for presenting today and sharing your insights with all of us. And then for everyone who joined us and watched the session for a little bit today, I wanted to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us for a little bit to listen to this presentation. Last comment, if there are any questions that you still have, go ahead and either email me. My email address is on the calendar invite, or go ahead and leave your remaining questions in the comments, and we'll see what we can do about continuing to get those answered. And then keep an eye out on the comments box, as I will be adding the link for all of the previous Coffee with Massimos in just a second. So again, just wanted to thank all of you, and I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.